I agree with most of the things Mr. Sanjeev Sanyal says in this podcast. Of course, the whole thing, which is termed by him as poverty of aspiration, is not limited to Bihar and Bengal. It's been a reality of India since the independence. Socialism and Marxist ideology has been destroying this country for ages. The whole world, actually.
Bihar, as I said, just like Bengal aspired to pseudo intellectuals and union leaders, Bihar aspired to small time local goon politicians
or UPSC.
or UPSC. Yeah. So in an environment where those are the role models, you can either you can become a local goon. If you don't want to become a local goon, your way out is to basically become a civil servant. Now, even that, although it's better than being a goon, even that is a poverty of aspiration. I mean, at the end of it, why, if you must dream, surely you should dream to be Elon Musk or Mukesh Ambani. Why did you dream to be joint secretary?
Yeah.
The reason they are not dreaming to be the next Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Ambani, Adani is because of the very same system you are criticizing. We live in a country which is basically an anti-business and anti-capitalist society. We didn't have a lot of businesses in India, at least before the liberalization of economy in 1990s. Before 90s, we only had the government and some monopoly oligarchs who control the whole economy. That's what happens in socialist countries, where the state and the chosen few people who are supported by the state actually get rich. Unfortunately, that's the reality even today. Don't be fooled by the success of a couple of IT startups. India is still heavily dependent on service sector. We don't produce much, and that's why they dream to be joint secretaries, SPs, and collectors. By the way, it's not any better than being a goon. I would argue it's actually less damaging for the country if you just became a goon. But from the aspirant's point of view, that's the best thing he or she can hope for in this country. Mr. Sanyal understands that India is a socialist country. Now after 90s, you can call it a managerial society, state socialism or state capitalism, or the new fancy term people like to use nowadays, which is neoliberal country. Call it whatever, it doesn't change the fact that we don't favor businesses. As of 1960s, India and South Korea were at comparable economic levels. But by the late 1980s, South Korea's per capita income was 10 times that in India. Because India remained committed to a government-controlled, centrally planned economy. How do you think a country grows? Big businesses don't spring out of thin air. I mean, they do, only if it's a state-controlled business which is run by taxpayers' money and managed by useless civil servants, or by some who get support of the government of the time. But apart from that, usually a country grows through small businesses and individuals who are free to follow their dreams. They create, they invent, they work in small businesses and learn, have a great idea while working in some small shop, get the finance, start their own business, and compete in free market, and the best one wins. Look at the example of Sam Walton, working in JCPenney store as a clerk, to finding Walmart. Success stories like Rothschild, Elon Musk, Bill Gates only happens in free market, laissez-faire economies. We, on the other hand, still live in a society where government not only controls banking, has their own government banks, and has monopoly in coal, railway, and owns corporations like LIC, NTPC, Indian Oil, Bharat Petroleum, Bharat Electronics, BHEL, SBI, IDBI, Canara Bank, BSNL, list goes on and on. Anyways, this discussion is a whole giant beast on its own, and I want to stick to this topic. So let's move on.
So that's the point I'm making. So you need to, think about how a society thinks about risk-taking and scale and so on. So I think one of the problems of, say, a place like Bihar is not that it had bad leaders. The bad leaders are a reflection of what that society aspires for. So if you're aspiring for this, you will get it. So I think what is happening, thankfully, is across the country, our aspirations are changing. Now, of course, not everywhere. I still think way too many young kids who have so much energy, etc., are wasting their time basically trying to crack the UPSC exam. I'm not saying you don't want people to take the exam. Yes, every country needs a bureaucracy. That's perfectly fine. But I think lakhs of people spending their best years trying to crack an exam where a tiny number of few thousand people are actually going to get in makes no sense.
It makes perfect bloody sense. Why would they don't want to be a bureaucrat, a civil servant, especially IAS, IPS officers? Fucking hell, it's the best job in the country. No, it's the best job in the fucking world. No other country has these kind of positions where you get so much power instantly through a bloody exam. It's one of the worst things we are still continuing from our colonial past. Even the fucking Britain don't have this shit anymore. Why do you think even engineers, doctors and people who have nice corporate jobs and paid handsomely in India choose to pursue these exams to get to these services? No person who is creative and has ambitions would ever want a government job anywhere in the world. So why is that a thing in India? For patriotic reasons. Don't make me laugh. It's because the amount of power, prestige and money these positions offer are just ludicrous. And if you are ever curious why this country is so corrupt, just look at these services and you would get your answer pretty quickly. It amazes me that even though he understands the core reason why India has been so poor since independence and how it's directly linked to the socialist leaders and socialist ideologies. In the same breath, how could you not realize how fucked this system is? The whole idea of Indian civil service and choosing the top level bureaucrats to run not just big federal and state departments and committees, but even state and local level administration is equally damaging, if not more than socialism itself. One of the many reasons why socialism destroys a country is by controlling the whole economy from top to bottom and turning everything into a bureau, a government department. German Marxists coined the dictum, if socialism is against human nature, then human nature must be changed. They did not realize that if a man's nature is changed, he ceases to be a man. In all-around bureaucratic system, neither the bureaucrats nor their subjects would any longer be real human beings. It's evident from our own past and every country in the world who had their own fling with socialism that youth is the first victim of the trend toward bureaucratization. The young men and women are deprived of any opportunity to shape their own future. For them, there is no chance left but to be part of the bureaucracy itself. They are the lost generation because they have been robbed of the most precious right of every rising generation, the right to contribute something new to the human civilization, to their country. There could never be a free market or a thriving economy when there exists a system of powerful bureaucracy, as we have in India. And of course, I agree with him that we need bureaucrats. I don't agree that we need administrators though. Especially the posts like SP and collector should not even exist in a democracy. But we do need bureaucrats, civil servants. A civil government cannot function without clerks. But we don't need to give them so much power, especially right out of the gate. And we don't need UPSC or state public service commissions for that. We don't need federal and state level exams to select our modern day young princes and princesses. Local governments and its offices can find and recruit needed entry-level clerks and experts as they desire. No one is stopping them. And this type of bureaucracy would be far more efficient anyways. But even the current bureaucracy, it doesn't matter how inefficient, how corrupt it is instrumental in the execution of government plans and policies. The fault is not with the men and women who fill these offices and posts. They are no less victims of the system than anybody else, even if they don't realize it. Why would I blame a young man or a woman who just wants a government job? And if a job like IAS, IPS exists, why would they not aim for it? Especially in this country where socialist policies since independence sabotaged the free market and hindered businesses and forced a lot of talented entrepreneurs, scientists, and inventors to leave this country. Young people don't have a lot of opportunities in private sector, unfortunately. If they want those opportunities, they have to go to Western countries or look for a job in government sector. And so why would they not pursue UPSC when it allows them so much power and prestige? The system is bad, not its subordinate handyman Like I said, government cannot do without bureaus and bureaucratic methods, and a civil corporation cannot work without a civil government. Some amount of bureaucracy is indispensable. What people resent is not bureaucratism as such, but the intrusion of bureaucracy into all sphere of human life and activity. It's especially frustrating as an Indian when I'm being ruled by a bureaucrat. He or she decides my fate, and not the elected members of the office. It's a vicious cycle. Because of this intrusion of bureaucracy in every aspect of life combined with socialist system, businesses don't grow. And as a result, young people don't have opportunities. So then, they have no choice but to look at the same system for jobs and opportunities. And they end up joining the same system that robs them of opportunities, and the cycle continues on. A lot of people join these services thinking at least they are doing something. At least they are not sitting on the sideline and doing nothing. At least by joining the system, they can have some input. Even if they don't agree with the system, they can at least steer it in the right direction. Make some changes from within, some other kind of bullshit. You see, it doesn't quite work that way, unfortunately. That's how a lot of people thought during Nazi Germany, Mao's China, Lenin and Stalin's Russia. In the end, they all just became another cog in the machine, doing the same things they despised and wanted to change. They end up escorting people to concentration camps and gulags.
But I think lakhs of people spending their best years trying to crack an exam where a tiny number of few thousand people are actually going to get in makes no sense. If they put the same energy into doing something else, we would be winning more Olympic gold medals. We would be seeing better movies being made. We would see better doctors. We would see more, entrepreneurs and scientists and so on. So I would say that same energy, put it to something else. So I would say it's a waste of time. And I always discourage people, unless they really want to be, a administrator, they shouldn't take the UPSC exam.
Knowledge is one of the scarce of all resources. So I agree when Mr. Sanjeev Sanyal says that so many young men and women who have so much potential, so much to offer to this country and the world. But they are not wasting their time trying to crack the UPSC. But they indeed waste their life working in the bureaucracy. Government jobs offer no opportunity for the display of personal talent and gifts. Regimentation spells the doom of initiative. But these young men and women has no illusion about their future. They know what is in store for them. They will get a job with one of the innumerable departments. There will be another cog in a huge machine, the working of which is more or less mechanical. The routine of a bureaucratic technique will cripple their minds and their hands. In the case of IAS, IPS and other central service officers, the power will inevitably corrupt them and their character. They will enjoy security, but this security will be rather the kind that the convict enjoys within the prison walls. They will never be free to make decisions and to shape their own fate or the fate of the country. They will forever be taken care of by other people. There will never be a real man or a woman relying on their own strength. And if they understand what they are doing by playing their part is damning many more generations of his country to poverty, to starvation and slavery. But after a while, they stop caring. But absolutely, that young talent could have been utilized elsewhere. But then again, after so many generations of wasted talent, what choice do they have? In the end, I want to conclude by saying that we need more people like Mr. Sanjeev Sanyal who are at least talking about this stuff, even if I don't agree fully with everything that he said. A lot of people, especially old bureaucrats and current IAS IPS officers, came out criticizing him for his remarks. Same way they came out when Prime Minister Modi in his first term criticized the overreaching powers of IAS officers. And they have always stressed how important Indian civil service is and how important IAS IPS officers and UPSC is. How without them the country would not even run. Which is true, they are running this country even though we don't even elect them to do so. And look what they have done to this beautiful country of ours. Now, I want you people to understand the meaning of affordance trap. An affordance trap is a way to trap people into a very limited range of options. Usually with the psychological effect of making it difficult or impossible to think of any other possibilities other than those offered. This is my way of offering a possibility that is never discussed in this country. Ask yourself, where else in the developed world IAS/IPS officers exists? Ask yourself where in the world a district is controlled and administered by an unelected bureaucrat like a collector. Ask yourself why nowhere in the developed world government directly appoints a superintendent of police or a commissioner for the whole district police. Why is he or she not starting from the bottom, from the rank of constable and working his way up, like any other democratic country? Do not stop asking questions. Do not fall for the affordance trap. There are always more options than you are being presented with. Remember that.